If there's one thing the Switch console is lacking, it's some AAA superhero games. Sure, we've got the exclusive and fantastic Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but nothing quite on the scale of Rocksteady's much revered Arkham Trilogy. Until today. Now, to preface this review, yes, I am aware that other consoles exist, and yes, I'm aware that these games are available on those platforms too. So instead of running comparisons to what might have been, I'm taking a look at the Arkham Trilogy as it is on the Switch. Is this the trilogy Switch owners deserve, but don't really need right now? In the wise words of a police chief, we will review this trilogy because we can buy it, because we need a superhero game, an SD card guardian, a dork knight. The Arkham Trilogy consists of Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight, and all DLCs included, and the current exclusive Robert Pattinson's Batman skin. There's a lot of content here and a lot of gameplay, and with great games comes great 58 gig install size for digital buyers and 39 gig for physical purchases. Wait, sorry, that quote is the wrong franchise. The game installs as 3 different icons on the Switch home screen, which is a shame because it would have been a great opportunity to bundle this collection together with a slick screen and bonus features, but alas, these ports will have to suffice. I think the worst thing about this all is that only Arkham Asylum is included on the cartridge, meaning cartridge owners will still need to clear roughly 40 gig of space to make way for justice. The games all follow the same formula, with each iteration adding something a little new. Arkham Asylum is a more linear adventure, Arkham City opened up to a free roaming adventure, Arkham Knight added vehicular combat. There's a whole lot of game packed into this trilogy, much like the Metal Gear Solid collection, that will keep you entertained for hours. The trilogy has exceptionally voiced acted characters, and Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill bring gravitas to the roles of Batman and the Joker respectively. The trilogy is dark and brooding, much like the Batman franchise, and has many unexpected twists and turns that shock and entertain. As the name implies, this being a trilogy means that Arkham Origins is not a part of this package. The combat is a highlight of all 3 of the Arkham games, allowing you to take on multiple enemies with a variety of attacks and abilities. You can dodge and counter with timed prompts, making you feel like vengeance as you beat your way through hordes of bad guys. While this review covers the trilogy as a whole, let's take a look at each game to see how they perform and what each title brings to the table. Arkham Asylum does a fantastic job of setting up a dark and brooding atmosphere of the game. The intro of the game sees you escorting the Joker into the asylum where things go horribly wrong. So begins a more linear, but not in a bad way, adventure where Batman must fight his way through minions and bosses with the ultimate goal of restoring order to the asylum and stopping Joker in his nefarious scheme. Arkham Asylum expertly unravels a gripping narrative matched with outstanding combat and set pieces that give you a true sense of being the Dark Knight. The detective mode allows you to further investigate puzzles and find out more about your enemies, something also driven by henchmen discussing the current events of the game. There's a great incentive for the player to hang back in the shadows and plan your attack, allowing you to take down armed assailants one by one, as opposed to putting yourself in danger and prematurely ending your incursion into the asylum. You will also run into some familiar infamous faces such as Killer Croc, Zsasz, Harley Quinn, and the Scarecrow, who has some intense nightmare scenes that are akin to a deadly game of cat and mouse. These scenes can be jarring, but they also create a rare feeling that you as the player have now become the prey. Unfortunately, the port has choppy frame rates and dated graphics, and for some reason, instead of rendering cutscenes in-game, it switches to a much lower resolution FMV with hyperactive bloom that makes it look blurry to look at. It feels like this is a bit of a careless port that should have run much better, especially when you consider the age of the game. Arkham City opens the series up into an open-world adventure with much larger stakes and a larger cast of both supporting and playable characters. Again, it's superbly voice acted and there's no denying the chemistry between Cat and Bat as you flick between the two at times as playable characters. While there is a linear mission structure, Batman is free to explore and fight thugs all over the city how he sees fit. There's a return of the Wayne Tech upgrade system to level up Batman to become stronger, or learn new combos for fighting. Arkham City fares much better in both presentation and performance. The graphics are sharp, detailed, and visually impressive. There is minor texture pop-in when entering areas, but the game holds a steady frame rate and fluid combat. There are some frame rate dips when exploring the city, but overall it's very playable and enjoyable if you haven't visited the city before. Arkham Knight adds the Batmobile in drivable sections that can transform into a bat tank. While this sounds great by all means, these sections of the game are fairly lackluster and often end up in frustrations. The rest of the game is also open world like Arkham City, except this time you'll be exploring Gotham itself. It's very strange that in-game captures have been disabled for this title only, and the other two are free to record. I doubt this is an oversight considering Arkham Knight is easily the worst performing title of the trilogy. Arkham Knight originally had a very rough start upon its original release, with the game being pulled from sale for PC mere days after launch. So I was very keen to see how it would fare on the Switch. And the first thing I noticed that there were obviously compromises made compared to its bigger console counterparts, but like I said earlier, this won't impact my final score. What does impact the score, however, is the distinct performance hitches, texture pop-in, or assets not loading, and frame rate drops that frequently surface when exploring the open world. The Batmobile chase sections run at an awful frame rate to the point of being almost unplayable, and the game sometimes pauses to a dead stop to load for a second or two. It's clear that the delay was most likely to get this game into a playable state, but unfortunately, it failed to do so. All in all, the Arkham Trilogy is a very hard sell, especially at a $90 Australian price point. Whilst I can somewhat understand why Arkham Knight would be perhaps cut down to perform on the Switch, it's almost completely unplayable. It looks awful, and in my opinion, is possibly the worst port on the Switch to date in its current state. There's absolutely no reason for the performance issues on Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, especially considering that Arkham City appeared on the Wii U with a polished engine that featured a stellar performance in the Armoured Edition. While the games themselves are top-tier AAA titles in their own right, the Arkham Trilogy on the Switch almost feels like an insult to the legacy of these amazing games. 2 out of 3 of them are in a playable state, but the games, and the fans that love them, deserve better. So, what's it like? The Arkham Trilogy has the investigations of Detective Pikachu with the combat of Mad Max, even though Batman did it first. I award it a 66 out of 100.